Hello. I think it's Wednesday. Anyway, so you're probably at a point when some of you really think that you're done. But today there are still some final things that you can do. We've been working this week on revising, and there are lots of different ways that you can revise. You can add things, you can take things out. I want to share because I think that there's a possible other alternative that you might consider when you're revising. The sentences that I want you to take a look at today in your piece may need changes. Sometimes there are run-on sentences, sometimes there are missing words, sometimes there are places for possible partner sentences. And so what I want you to do is spend some time reading your work to see if it makes sense. I want to show you something that popped up in a student's work. Now, this is a student who is extraordinary, a student who works really, really independently, and a student who is far, far ahead of everybody. And I respect and appreciate this so much. So I was looking at this student's work, and this is what this person came up with. A tiger can travel thousands of miles, that like going to California and New York City and back. I changed some of the words in here to protect the innocent, but I want to know that reading this, I did see right out of the gate, at the very start of this particular subheading, lots of room for change. And the problem is that sometimes we read our work so much. We're looking at it, and then I say, okay, read this to me. Now, and a student will say, all tigers can travel thousands of, I'm like, read it again. All tigers can travel. Is that what it says? All tiger can. So this happens a lot when I come around and I circulate, because we look at our work so much, we think we know what it's supposed to say, but it actually doesn't. So in this case, there's a letter missing. All tigers can travel thousands of miles. It says all tigers can travel thousands of miles, that like going to What are you trying to say? Oh, it's missing a period. All tigers can travel thousands of miles, period. Capital that. And it's that like going to California? Oh, it means that's like going to California and New York City and back. I think you might want to say capital California, like going maybe not to California, but maybe going from California to New York City and back, and make that NYC. Or that's like going from New York City to California and back. However you want to say that, you want to make sure that you have the capital letters in the right place, the periods in the correct place, and the letters that are there. And sometimes it's a word missing. All right, that's one thing that you might want to consider when you're revising. Another thing that popped up is like sometimes sentences are run-on sentences. So here's an example of what I mean by a run-on sentence. All right, it sounds like this. A run-on sentence is like, whoa, it just keeps going on and on and on. You really need to make that 2 or 3 sentences. All right. Tigers are faced with droughts, and that is hard for them because they travel far, and sometimes they need to stop and drink, and that is dangerous, and they can become prey. Now, I did not see this sentence in anybody's writing, but I have, in my time, seen sentences that really feel like they need to be broken up into 2 or 3. So tigers are faced with droughts. My first thought is, what's a drought? So in this case, this student, where I kind of got this idea from, did the partner sentence. This student wrote, a drought is when land is dried out because it hasn't had rain for a while. So we're gonna write oh darn, my computer does this weird thing sometimes when I hit the shift button. So a drought is when land is dried up from lack of rain. Now I can say that. Okay, so now tigers are faced with, now I go back and I reread. Tigers are faced with droughts. A drought is when land is dried up from lack of rain. That is hard for them because they travel far and sometimes they need to stop and drink, period. Oops, sorry. Stopping, S-T-O, stopping can be dangerous because they could become prey. See how I took that sentence and I kind of made it 3 sentences instead of 1. And I added a partner sentence in there because I felt like we needed to define this. The student where I got this idea from actually did define the word, but I'm just giving you an example of what that looks like. And also that word should be bold now because it's going to be one of our glossary words. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I just want to remind you once again to go back in and reread. Today might be a day where you can read with a partner. So maybe you have somebody read your work, you would read theirs. And that person really needs to like really read it, like look for the stuff. Look for the things that need to be changed, okay? You're doing great, we're almost there. You have tomorrow off, and then Friday will be like, wrap this up in a nice little package, tie a little bow on it, and send caution to the wind and say, yay, I'm done! Okay, I love you guys. We'll see you soon.